everybody. My name is Mike. Welcome to Mike Miller Live. I am extremely excited to bring you today's episode. I have in the studio today, who is way much cooler than I am. His name is Simon from InfoSec Live. Met him probably about a month or two ago. You know, the great thing about LinkedIn connections and connecting to people is you meet some truly awesome people. And I can honestly say he is one of them. So today he's here for some awesome commentary. And I am going to talk about branding and what you can do to try to help yourself stand out on LinkedIn and kind of my journey and so on too. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on the Simon, and we'll see if he's back there somewhere. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Mike. How are you?
I am fantastic, Simon. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. You caught me replying to your messages in chat just then.
Well, I really got to work on this studio thing, right? So I'm in my at-home office, same office that I work from, and it doesn't look near as cool as yours. You got
right. Do you want to? Shall I give you a sneak peek of what it's really like?
So absolutely.
I'm in a small bedroom in a 270-year-old thatched cottage, and this screen behind me is a black sheet, which has been, if I give you a sneak of the top, right, there we go, look, there we go, a black sheet stapled to the wall with a neon sign in front of it. So it just goes to show, with any budget, you can make yourself a studio, Mike.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I have a $5 little LED studio light that kind of lights up my face, but the problem is it brings out all of the negatives I have on my face.
Well, I can give you a tip for that, because I actually look 15 years older than this in real life. If you get OBS Studio, which is free,
you
can run your camera through that and then use a multitude of features to smooth your skin and enhance your appearance.
I definitely need to enhance my appearance. And my skin is definitely not smooth. So, I know this is you're a busy man. You run an awesome show. I've learned a lot from you and just how you're growing and what you're doing. And you have a fantastic story, and I've really appreciated getting to know you. So, thought it'd be fun to bring you on today as a co-host, kind of watch the comments and keep me in line and just have fun. The purpose of my episodes, I think you and I have the same goal, right? It's to be positive. It's to uplift people. It's to help people kind of, if I've had a long journey and I've had, some rough roads in my journey, and I know you have too. So it's teaching people from the lessons that we learn, because if I can make someone else's journey easier than mine, then that's my goal, right? So with that said, before we go any further, I am lucky enough for a couple of things. First of all, I'll just give everybody this little description of myself. I don't do this often, but I will. I'm a VCISO for a company called Appalachia Technologies. And I will say, so they acquired my company that I started years ago. They acquired it last year. And I'm fortunate enough to still work for a company that believe, like, they get it. They look at that 30,000 foot view, and they get branding. They just get, building a presence on LinkedIn. They just get the big picture. I'm really thankful for that. So if any of you get a chance, stop by Appalachia Technologies. Check them out. We are one of the top 250 MSSPs in the world. Super cool company. And certainly check them out. The partners, the whole team is absolutely fantastic. So before I move on from that, I'm also going to talk real quick about our show sponsor for today, which is GRC Academy. I don't know if anyone's heard of GRC Academy, but if you're looking to, I talk a lot, and Simon, I know you do too, about, GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, and, different avenues you can go in that field, because there's a ton of demand. And so there is Jacob Hill from GRC Academy has sponsored our show for today. And I think he might be sitting here in the background. But just to give you some, just a pointer, a little bit about them. The demand for specialists in GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, is greater now than it ever has been. With compliance being a huge driver for security, the number of careers in GRC are growing exponentially. GRC Academy is the place to start your governance, risk, and compliance career. After completing the online CMMC course at GRC Academy, you have a solid understanding of the Department of Defense's security standards for defense contractors. And I thought I'd put a review up. I've gotten to know him. He's just a great guy. And it's nice when I'm picky about my sponsors, right? Because I truly believe in building a brand, and I will never talk about a company that I truly don't believe in. So
agreed.
They're on my show. And Simon, I think you go by the same thing. If it's same with you, like we have to believe in what we are speaking about.
I think it comes through in what you do. It's honesty and integrity as well. And I'm sure you'll talk about that later on when you're speaking about the branding, but just sticking on the GRC course. I mean, it's one of the biggest growth areas for employment. You've got rafts of SMBs out there now starting to take this seriously with no or hardly any talent in the marketplace to do it. And I'd actually never heard of this course before. I'm interested to dive into that myself. So it's definitely in the market.
Yeah. And I think he's hanging in the background. And I shared a link earlier. If you go to the link /Mike, you get some discounts on that as well. So with that said, I'm a storyteller and I have lots of stories to tell. But today I'm going to show you a corny picture. I'm going to start with a really corny picture. And I'm going to bring this up right now. So some of you may have heard this story already, but if you look at the short guy on the left side, second from the left side, this is me singing tenor into one of my best friend's ears. And just to tell you a little bit about what's going on here, about 6 years ago, I was invited by one of my best friends to sing in this 5-man. They wanted to form this 5-man group. And I love singing. The only place I really sang to was the steering wheel. I sang in chorus in elementary school and stuff. That was fun. But anyhow, and I'm going somewhere with this story, so hang in with me. So we started this group, and we started learning Beach Boys, and we started learning the Eagles and things like that. And over a period of about a year and a half, we got pretty good. We got to the point where when 5 of us were singing together and harmonizing, I would, in the middle of a song, I'd put my arms out and I had goosebumps on my arms just from the sound. And I think anyone who's sat in a concert or who's just enjoyed music has been through that, right? And so we were getting pretty good. And we got to a point that, we sang in a garage. We just sang in a garage and just singing to the 4 walls and ourselves. And finally, I'm like, you know what? We should really just see what we're made of, get ourselves out there. And hence the term that I use often, we put the garage door up, right? We put the garage door up. We went out, we secured our first event, which was a veterans event. We did a fundraiser for them. We sang for free. They were able to raise some money, put it to a really good cause. During that time that we were singing, at the end of that concert, we had at least 4 or 5 people walk up to us and they wanted to book us for their event. So the question is, where am I going with this, right? Whether or not we think we are salespeople, we absolutely are. Through our lives, we develop skills, we develop wisdom, and we develop knowledge, right, and experience that if we are not able to sell the skills that we have grown over the years, we're never going to be able to, we can't eat, right? So whether or not you like it or not, every one of us in this room, you, Simon, myself, we're all salespeople, even though some of us might not like sales, but you have to be able to sell the skills that you have, right? So what are you selling? Again, knowledge, experience, and wisdom. So that brings us to the next thing. Well, how do we sell that, right? So years ago, 100 years ago, the best means of spreading word of mouth, because word of mouth still rolls. It is still the best way of getting your brand, getting yourself out there is word of mouth. So how do we do it? How do we use word of mouth? 100 years ago, it was a newspaper, right? It was, you read something in the newspaper, you tell someone about it, or you show an article to somebody. Well, word of mouth itself hasn't changed, but the means of how word of mouth travels has changed. So would you agree with that, Simon?
Yeah, 100%. I think the messaging has always been there, but as you say, the medium of how we communicate to each other and how we spread messages has definitely changed. And I think it's also, being of an older generation myself, it's made it a lot easier if you do it right to see success much quicker.
Yeah, I totally agree. The thing that has changed, so word of mouth hasn't changed, but the platform for it has, right? For people in tech and cybersecurity, hands down, in my opinion, LinkedIn is the strongest word of mouth platform for us professionals, right? And I'll just run down through some stats. There are nearly a billion users on LinkedIn at this point, 65 million decision makers. So when I say decision makers, if you use Sales Navigator or some other LinkedIn tools that I use, you can actually look at a company. I could look at maybe Coca-Cola, and it'll tell you who the decision makers are for that company, right? 65 million on the platform. However, what that doesn't account for is the word of mouth that's happening within that too. So just because I might not be a VP or a CEO in a company, I can still influence decision makers, right? So even though this number says 65 million, the amount of people who have influence and talk to other people on this platform is way above that. Yeah. 87% of recruiters now are using the LinkedIn platform. 66 million users are active in the United States. 51% of degreed professionals, of people with college degrees, are on this platform. And of course, it's voted the number one trusted platform. And if you think of any other means of social media out there, right? Facebook, Instagram, what have you, and you look at where you're going to find professionals, this is definitely the platform. So here we are using word of mouth to build your brand through LinkedIn, where all of these professionals sit. So going into this, I have questions to ask, and I am encouraging anybody who is watching this, please drop answers in here, because I'm going to ask you questions, and I know we can't hear you, right? But I want to know, do you like your job? And I want to see them in the comments. Do you like your job? That's number one. Number two, do you feel safe in your job? And I really want you to think about that. Third one, number three, and those in cybersecurity know what I'm talking about here. Disaster recovery plan. Yes, the organization you are working for should absolutely have a disaster recovery plan. But I'm going to ask you as an individual, do you have a disaster recovery plan? And what I mean by that is, if you go to the next question, how would you find a job and how long would it take? That's kind of part of your personal disaster recovery plan. If you were to lose your job tomorrow, I want you to ask yourself the question, how would you find a job? And the second, how long would it take? If you don't have those two answers kind of figured out, then you don't have a disaster recovery plan, right? So part of what I'm trying to teach people is to not wait until the rug's pulled out from under us to go to LinkedIn, Monster, Career Builder, Indeed, Dice, wherever you want to go, and figure out how to get a job. And I love the answers that are pouring in here. I love these. Thank you, guys. It is to have a pre-plan on how you're going to manage that. So my goal here is to retrain our internal sales force. And when I say sales force, I'm not talking about salesforce.com. I'm talking about our internal sales force, our brains, right? My goal is to help you retrain your brain on becoming I guess what we would call recession resistant, recession proof. And I know we've talked about this on LinkedIn here the past day or two and what that means. But my goal for you is that don't think about your current job and how stable your current job is. If you did not have a job, but you have your career, how long is it going to take you to jump to the next thing, to be able to pick up and move? So when I ask those questions of how will you find a job and how will you get a job, right? How long will it take you? Many people start thinking about filling out applications. They start thinking about how many resumes they can sling out there. And I call this the spraying and praying. My goal is to stop people from the spray and pray mindset and to help themselves become recession proof by being able to have leads come to your inbox, if that makes sense. So, Simon, before I go to the next slide, is there anything here that you would like to add or comment on?
I mean, there is. I mean, the term recession proof in itself, I mean, you've seen various comments online about people disagreeing or agreeing with that. The whole ethos behind it, though, is that you need to make yourself stand out even more as a professional in a climate where so many people are losing their jobs. So whilst not everyone will agree with the terminology, what Mike's trying to achieve here is to get you in the right place before you need to make that step. And I think this can apply to any industry, not just cybersecurity. The personal branding, Mike, is just so important. And without rambling on too much, I mean, I self-destructed 4 years ago and lost absolutely everything, including my career and my family for a while. And it took me 2 years to come back from that. And that's because it was from a complete standing start with no social media presence at all. But I suppose the point I'm trying to get to is that even from dire circumstances like that, which I'm sure most of you out there aren't in that position, and if you are, I send my love and best wishes to you, it's possible to do this in a fairly short amount of time if you put the work in and follow the process.
Oh, I agree. And I've heard your story personally. You and I have had a lot of conversations, and I'm watching you closely. I'm watching you on LinkedIn. I try to interact with what you're doing. And
no, I appreciate it.
If I could say one thing, one, you're doing things right? And two, I never see you out there doing anything negative. Everything I see that's pouring out of you is positive. And the third thing that I would say, and it shows, which is why I keep creeping into your shows and things like that, is that you're passionate about what you do. I can tell that you have truly found what you want to do.
Well, I think it's a hard thing to say, but there's no such thing as altruism, right? Helping other people makes you feel amazingly good. And for someone who effectively had a breakdown 4 years ago, being able to focus my time to help other people has healed me beyond any words I could say. Yeah. So there's positives to be drawn out of that everywhere.
And everything happens in our lives for a reason. There's reasons we go through those difficulties because we learn from them. And I listen to the wisdom that you pour out in every episode. And
I don't know if it's wisdom. It's just don't do what I did.
That's wisdom, though, right? It's don't do what I did, but here's why, right? And that's wisdom. So let's talk about the next slide that I brought up, right? So the goal is to, if we're talking about becoming whatever we want to call it, recession proof, recession resistant, being able to pick up and move really quick, right? It is to, one, how do you do that, right? One, you get discovered. And when I say that, I don't mean you get discovered for your singing ability and you get a big label or anything like that. I mean, LinkedIn is a level playing field for everybody. And we're going to talk about this later on, but learning how to stand out on the platform. Second, driving leads to you. And when I say driving leads, I'm not talking about, selling your product or whatever it is. I'm talking about driving leads to you that want your ability and your skills, right? So this could be one, jobs, because you may need a job, or even if you don't need a job, you need to be proactive. You don't wait to buy car insurance after you wreck a car. You don't wait to buy life insurance after you're gone, right? You do these things proactively. So why don't we do this with our career? I don't understand why more people aren't doing this. So we do it for jobs. For those of us that that like to be contractors or subs, it's to help procure contracts. And for those of us with a business, it's to procure clients, right?
Yeah.
And I said this all the time, and I post this. It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you.
100%.
Right?
Can I bring in a question, or not a question, a statement that goes back to something you said a moment ago, that you see too much of on LinkedIn. Don't get into the grumbling on LinkedIn. It's a career killer. Just build up others. Yeah. And you said that you see positivity from me all the time. Do you actually think that I feel that positive every day in real life? Absolutely. The honest answer is no. But not for one moment will I start to be negative all over social media, because it doesn't help anyone, never mind yourself.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? And I appreciate that. I'm happy you brought that up. And so I'm just going to throw an example. And I would say that Most of the people in this room saw it, but there were some negative posts about pictures of a person posting a Lamborghini on LinkedIn, right? And I was discouraged by that because we are to be, no matter what the situation is, we are to be optimistic. We're supposed to be encouraging. We're supposed to be supportive, right? And I don't care what the situation is. I don't remember all the details, but even months ago, there were videos about they called it the crying CISO that posted a video and so on, and it brought to surface so many negative comments. You remember that, Simon?
I do. Yeah.
And so I made a post yesterday, and it was from my heart. I thought it out for hours, right? And that's just not who we're to be on this platform. We are to be people who support one another. So if we want to do those things, do it on another platform, right? Because just don't do those things, period. You'll be surprised that if you're just positive all the time and you're encouraging all the time,
what comes to you, it works.
No.
It does work. I mean, positive minds, shiny shoes, shiny mind, as my late grandmother used to say. But also slagging off or slating the competition is the worst marketing ploy I've ever seen. And while you talk about the Lambo Gate incident, I was horrified by that. I mean, I don't know the guy who he was talking about. Why would you not be pleased for the bloke who's come from not very much to actually see great success? And it appears he also looks after his staff as well.
Yep.
It's just sour grapes from miserable, whiny people.
Yeah, and it's all relevant, right? It's all relevant. Success is relevant. It's what makes you happy. And so anyhow, I don't want to dive into that any further, but my message to people overall on LinkedIn, period, if I have one message, right, it is to be kind, period. Yeah. Just be kind, and you will be amazed at what comes out of it. How have I grown on this platform? One reason, trying to be kind, right? Yeah. And I'm sure I could be kinder, but I'm just doing my best to be kind, right? So I'll move on because I'm probably boring people now. So the question is how? How do we stand out on this platform? So first of all, I said in the last slide, be discovered. And the old saying, if you watch the movie, if you build it, they will come, is very true. There's millions of recruiters using LinkedIn every day to find people like all of us in this room, right? This is what's interesting. Most users, most profiles on LinkedIn have less than 500 connections, right? But this one's even more interesting. 4%, no more than 4% of people on LinkedIn have over 2,000 connections, right? Which brings me to the next point of LinkedIn is a level playing field for everybody. 15 months ago, I had 200 followers, right? And all I did was put in hard work. I was kind, right? I showed up every day. So what that means is, right, is that if you put work in and you can create connections, and don't think of connections like followers or anything, think of them as, and I've said this in my last show, but I'm just going to keep repeating it, right? Every connection you have is a seed. And if you take care of that seed and you water it and you give it what it needs, you're going to grow a garden. And when as that garden grows, that garden's going to feed you, right? So the more seeds you have, the more you take care of those seeds by giving them what they need, giving them what they want, the bigger garden you grow that feeds you for life. Does that make sense, Simon?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to take care of your garden. So
I think you said it already, but it's having the right intention, isn't it? It's doing this for the right reasons. And there's lots of people on social media who allude to being kind and compassionate and helping people when really what they're doing is just helping themselves. And I think if you follow anyone and watch anyone for long enough, you can work out who those people are.
Oh yeah, you're exactly right. And don't be afraid to be yourself. Show your personality, show the type of person you are, and you'll be surprised, what that'll do. There's no magic. There's no smoke and mirrors, right? Everyone who's grown on this platform has done it by just being kind. So.
Absolutely. And Sarah or Sarah, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Be you, share what interests you, and others will follow. #topics.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I'm happy she mentioned it because I'm going to hit on that here, right? So 15 months ago, and I'll talk about my journey for a minute. 15 months ago, I had 200 connections, 200 followers, whatever you want to call them, right? In about 12 months, I went from 200 to 50,000.
Wow.
Because of that, right? And there's no magic behind that. Like literally anybody could do this. My mentees are actually, they're doing this, right? And I'll just, Morgan Hamlin. I think most of us know Morgan Hamlin now. Guess what? You didn't know her 6 months ago. She had 160 connections when we met, right? We met, I mentored her, 160 connections 6 months ago. Now everybody knows her. She's creeping up on 50,000 connections, has more job opportunities coming to her than she's ever had. She hasn't done anything magical. She's used the platform to its fullest capability.
And she's been, I bet she's been consistent though.
She is absolutely consistent. She went off the grid for about 2 weeks to study for finals. I had to pick on her for that. I'm like, where are you? You can't leave LinkedIn. But so I picked on her for that. But she's doing a fantastic job. And there's other people that I can name that are just doing, just a fantastic job. So what does that do, right? So showing up, branding, right? I was, I'm fortunate enough. I had about 22 in the past. Well, in that first 12 months, I had about 22 million impressions. So what is an impression? It's not a view, but it's someone who cruised by your post. Doesn't mean they've engaged, doesn't mean comments, but it just means that they were able to run past my content. And the only reason I'm telling you these numbers again is because I'm no one special, right? Anybody has the ability to do this. My what I'm trying to say is, if you put the time in, you put the work in, you can absolutely do that yourself. So the question is, how did I get there, right? How did I do it? So I will tell you, in the beginning, I struggled. I envied many others, right? I wanted to be like them. I think in the beginning, I didn't realize that I had something to offer. I just wanted to be what someone else was doing. I wanted to be them. Slowly, I started figuring out, one, I had skill. I've been in the field for 24, 25 years at that point. And even though I'm not the smartest guy on earth, I had the ability to teach people from my experiences. I had life experiences that I could teach. I had knowledge from the field. And again, I was a positive person. There's so much negativity out there. I'm so positive that my wife, it drives her crazy, right? So we have this huge, just a quick story, we have this huge tree in our back. A big oak tree hangs way over our house. And she always says, Mike, if this tree gets hit by lightning, we're dead, because it hangs right over our bedroom. And I'm like, if the tree falls, we're probably going to get a new roof out of it, right? So like, that's just so different. And I drive
and free firewood.
Yeah, and free firewood. You're exactly right. But it doesn't matter the situation. You can always bring positive light. Then I realized that I wasn't afraid to be myself. Right. And I will say that the last two, being a positive person and not being afraid to be myself, is what has led me to the connections that I've received and being able to build a community. So I think you're doing the same thing, Simon. I see the same thing out of you.
Well, I think I definitely had the same at the start. I mean, I'd become bankrupt and lost everything, living in a caravan on my own. Family disowned me, and believing in myself was the hardest bit by a long way. Yeah. And I think that brings us on to what I think is the most important part of any branding, especially personal branding. You've got to get that self-confidence in place first. And that can be one of the hardest things to do. But again, it's something through associating with the right positive people can soon help to bring you up to that.
Oh yeah. You're exactly right. And the thing is here, none of us in this room, anyone who's watching or anyone commenting, even you and I, Simon, we would not be here. We would not know each other. We would not be friends if it weren't for LinkedIn. If it weren't,
it's completely changed my life. I mean, I've gone from being 45 years old with no career anymore, no kind of hope, to joining social media for the first time. LinkedIn was March 2021. And whilst I haven't had a process like yourself has, where it's demonstrably worked, the success I've seen and the offers of kind of work and sponsorship I've had from the platform are just unbelievable. Yeah. It literally has changed my life.
And let me ask you this, because I always preach about, becoming, having the ability to brand yourself and get yourself out there. What's your inbox like? I know your inbox isn't empty. I know you get opportunities every day.
I get loads of opportunities, but going back to something you said at the start when you were talking about your sponsor, 90% of those opportunities are from firms that I don't want to work with.
Yeah, I know.
So I've got plenty of opportunities. I think where I am now is I've got too many. And the last few months, I've been like a kid in a sweet shop, not knowing which one to go with. And I think back to knowing yourself and being yourself, I've decided to take ownership of it and create live events myself, because that's what I believe I should be doing. But if I hadn't had all the offers from other people, I never would have had the confidence and the belief that I could do it.
Yep. And you have to, I love that. And the thing is, you have to learn to say no, because we all love having opportunities. I, for years, have been a yes man. I've said yes to everything, for the past 10, 15 years.
It's a hard skill.
It is. But over a period of time, you learn to listen better, and you learn to, because in the end, I only have so much time in every day. And my goal is to reach as many people as I can, right? To help as many people as I can. So if I get sidetracked on something that takes me away from my mission, then I'm not doing anyone any good. So I have to be organized, which I'm working to be better on. I'm not the most organized person, right? And you have to be able to really cater your time for the things that really move toward your mission. So
do you mind if I bring up a quick question here from Michael? Yep. Michael Thome. Does having 500 plus connections help you algorithm wise? I just have a hard time connecting with others who don't even send an intro message with a request. I'm with you, Michael. Maybe I'm being too strict, gatekeeping. No.
That's it. I'm happy you brought that one up, Simon. Thanks. I appreciate it. And actually, we're going to talk about that here in a second in some of my other slides. But here's what I'll tell you. You're never going to find a hard fact from LinkedIn or anywhere that says, once you reach 500, it's going to do something great for you, right? Here's what I would tell you. Every connection matters. And if you can surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, which is what I've tried to do on this platform, which is easy for me, right? If you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, and you learn from them, and you learn, and you start helping people and doing things like that, you're going to gain more connections. And obviously, here's what happens. After you start gaining connections, right? LinkedIn is going to slowly over time start, we go into LinkedIn, it'll suggest profiles and stuff. And, sooner or later, your profile is probably going to be suggested to people. And so here's what I'd say. There's no magic number, but every number kind of helps.
Every interaction helps. Yeah,
absolutely. So I have here in this graphic, simply put, LinkedIn is the largest networking party on the planet, period. And this is absolutely true. From here on out, from this moment in time in this podcast or live show, whatever you want to call it, if you think of LinkedIn as the largest networking party on the planet, it has ability to absolutely change your life. So I'll go back more to how I was able to build a community. One, again, think of it as a party. So I always found myself run to the center of the room. And when I say run to the center of the room, I'm talking about engaging with people, right? Surround myself, like we said, with people smarter than I am. Surround myself with the same interests that I have. I only surrounded myself with positivity. I left a group today. Today, I got invited to a LinkedIn group not too long ago, and I was in this group. I'm not going to name the group. I was in this group, and I just today I get this message that I haven't shared the group enough, or haven't engaged in the group enough, and that there were going to be ramifications for members who haven't engaged and shared enough. I don't need that type of negativity, right? So seconds later, I left the group.
I know who that was. I'm not going to mention it either.
Yeah. What I didn't do, my instinct was I wanted to leave. I wanted to just say something back. I didn't because, I was able to kind of count to 10 and cool down a little bit because it made me so angry. But you know what? I left the group and that was it, because it doesn't deserve any more of my time, right? So it just doesn't make sense. You have to, again, it just goes back to being kind. So I want a positivity. So anytime I see anything like that, I'm just gone. I don't leave a negative comment. I don't even share my thoughts. I'm just gone.
Don't waste your energy on it.
Did you get the same message I got? I think you did.
No, I think I've had that message before. I left that group some time ago.
Yeah. So being that LinkedIn is the largest networking party on the planet, right? I wanted to make sure that at the end of the night, after that party's over for the day, that everybody knew my name, right? So all of you who are here watching this, think of LinkedIn as the largest networking party on the planet. And at the end of the day, you want people to talk about you when you leave that party, right? For good reasons, not for bad reasons. But the question is, how do we do that? One, positive interaction, period, engagement. And I'll talk about comments from it. CTA comments. So what is a CTA comment? That is when you're leaving comments, right? And I hate even to use the word comment. When you're engaging, make it positive, but do engagement in a way that if you are, and I know David Meese is in the room here, so I'll talk about for a second. He has over 50,000 followers. He's almost ready to pass me. I'm eyeing his profile every day. I'm not going to let him do it. Anyhow,
not that you're competitive at all, Mike.
I'm not competitive at all. I'm not competitive at all. Anyhow, if you engage with someone like that, they're going to engage back, right? And that engagement, getting a trickle of that traffic, some of the posts that some of these people put out get hundreds of thousands of views. So trying to gain some of that traffic really helps, right? Yeah, let me see. What do you have here? Not support negative comments on LinkedIn. Yeah, you may sound like some. Yeah, you're exactly right. Don't waste any of your time on that. Sarah, great.
It's an important thing to remember that everything you like or comment on is then going to come up in every one of your connections feed, or could do. So you have to be very, very careful about that.
You're exactly right. And I founded a company back in like 2010 or 11, and I'm getting sidetracked here. I founded the company, and I ran that company for about 12 years before it was acquired last year. And I could tell you that I got resumes across my desk all the time for positions, but I looked at the resume for about 15 seconds. First place I went was LinkedIn. And to Sarah's comment, if I would have seen a negative comment on someone's profile, it's someone I was looking to hire, I'm gone. Or they're gone, right? They have no potential to work for me, right? Because I don't have time for that in my day. That's not the people I want to surround myself with. So the next thing I did, it says after engaging, I messaged top players. So what I mean here is if you're really trying to stand out on the platform, engage with them, but pick a few top players. And when I say top players, I mean people that you really admire, right? People that you follow on a platform that are really enthusiastic about the same things that you are, but they have a great following. Don't be afraid to message them, right? But be real. Don't ask something from them. Just try to have a conversation with them, right? Things that I didn't do. I didn't try to sell anything on the platform, right? I didn't copy anybody's stuff. One thing that I really didn't do a lot either is I didn't share content. I wanted all of my content to be my own for that first year, right? And again, we talked about negativity. There's just no negativity. There's no room for negativity on this platform at all. So, Simon, do you want to comment on any of those? I'm pretty sure you follow that same philosophy.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been flying blind a little bit with my LinkedIn ever since I've joined. So if I'm perfectly honest with you, I've joined this as part of your audience to try and learn something.
That's how I'm learning from yours too, buddy. Learning from yours too. So
I think the only thing I would say is if you're honest and you're consistent and you share enough of yourself, but not too much, remember it is a professional platform. I'm all for posting pictures of myself and content and letting people know who you are, but there's a line there as well. You have to be, to be careful with.
Yep. I agree. Absolutely. So I'm going to go back to what worked, right? I have being original, just be you. Don't try to be somebody else. Helping people with knowledge. Here's where people get confused. They think that, I can't help anybody in this field because I'm new or I'm not smart enough. But even in the beginning of your journey, you may have found some classes to take, or, you're chasing a certification, whatever it is. There's people that want to know the knowledge that's in your head. So even if you're aspiring, and I'll talk about David Meese again, right? Before he even had a job in cybersecurity, he was mentoring people, which is how he grew his following, right? So it doesn't matter what point you are at in your career, you can still help people. I tried to solve problems. I solved problems of gatekeeping. I solved problems of people being misled, not knowing where to go. And over time, right, my goal overall was to be someone that people could rely on to lead them in the right direction, right? And so that's really all I'm good for, is really trying to lead people in the right direction from my experiences.
You say that's all I'm good for. I think you're underestimating the power of that Mike, a little bit with that very self-effacing comment there. I'd just like to pull you up on that and drop the imposter syndrome that may be coming up as a topic next.
I guess. Yeah. I appreciate that. And you know, I don't think I do have that in this presentation, but you're right. That's something I struggle with even to this day. You know, I think to myself, you know, even at my job, I've been fortunate, the best company I've ever worked for in my life. But I think, you know, why have they hired me? What do I have to offer them? And I think about that in these episodes. I think there's people watching this episode. I don't have a degree, right? I'm an average guy. So I struggle with that. But what I try to do is leverage it as best I can to help me toward my goal, right? So if I'm going into something that I feel like I don't know well enough, I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to dive in and try to learn as much as I can to get through that.
Can I pull up a question just because I did a snipey post about it on LinkedIn last week? It's Mr. JJ Davey. How are you, my friend? And he's talking about lists with little context, and you and I have had a conversation about this. So I know
we have, yeah.
Do you think the creator community is too driven by vanity as opposed to providing more guidance and highlighting the valuable resources as opposed to the volume of resources?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know what? I am really thankful that JJ's here. So first of all, I've gotten to know him really well over the past year. We're in a little chat group with about 10 people that we run together. And the great thing about the people in this group, especially JJ's, we have conversations and sometimes we disagree about things, but these people in this group and most people on this platform, we have the ability to talk through things and have conversations without disrespecting. So first I want to thank JJ for being here. I didn't even know he was floating around. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
He does that a lot. He's stealthy.
He creeps in and he creeps out. He's a fantastic guy. So
he is.
Here's what I'll tell you. Yes, there is a trend of people sharing lists on LinkedIn right now. So I would say I'm 50-50 here on my opinion, right? I can defend both sides. So here's what I'll say. I think if you're doing it just for the metrics, just to gain followers, I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? Now, with that said, I myself have shared some lists, right? But what I try to do is when I share these lists, because obviously my goal goes toward my mission. My goal is to reach as many people as possible. So yes, if I can gain followers from it, great. However, I will never put content out that I don't believe in. So what I would tell you is, yes, I've shared lists, but the lists that I've shared are lists that I have spent time going through them. They're learning paths, they're courses that I would stand behind, right? I've been sharing a lot of stuff to LinkedIn courses because I went out there. I see what they're doing. I believe in what they're doing. So I've been sharing a lot. Don't do it just for the metrics. Do it to help people. And this goes back to if you give more than what you expect to get back, you'll get back more than you ever
You will. And I think the difference between lists I've seen you share and other people is that it's original content, right? This is stuff that you found useful yourself. And I think that the danger of some of the content I see out there is it's literally copied and pasted with no context from someone else and then dumped in, and it's no good.
Yeah, you're right. And that's junk. Don't copy someone else's post. Don't even try to be similar to anybody. Yes, you can use the same ideas they had kind of categorized, but don't copy what they did.
No, Michael's made another good point. There's a lot of free resources, but that's great. But it can also get extremely overwhelming at times. And I think you see a lot of people, myself included, trying to break in 2 years ago, where there's just so much noise and so many options. It's really hard to know what to do. So I feel you there, Michael.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to keep going here because I know we're slowly running out of time. And I know you got to bail here soon, too. I want to be respectful of your time. So whenever you need to drop, Simon.
I'm good. I'm all good. I'm enjoying my coffee. I can hear my multitude of children downstairs screaming. It's nice and peaceful in here. I'm enjoying the content.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to keep going, but I'll make it quick. First thing I want to talk about, everyone always asks me about the algorithm, right? No one totally understands the algorithm, right? But there's just studies that have been done. First, I want to talk about the human algorithm, right? First of all, profile, think of your profile as your resume. From here on out, your profile is your resume. Most people that I've talked to, I've talked to recruiters and so on, the average is T-10. You have T-10 seconds that people are going to look at your profile for. 10 seconds. So you have to be able to catch them fast. One, have a nice headshot, right? Casual, smiling, whatever it is, a cover photo, but don't have your cover photo so noisy that it takes away from that 10 seconds that they could be viewing something else, right? Your about section is really important. I always say have an icebreaker in there. If you like walking the dogs or going jeeping or sailing, whatever it is, say that in your about section, but then tell us about your skills, right? Your skills are they're completely important as well. The more complete, the more positive signals it's going to send to LinkedIn, right? And then the more people are going to see your profile. All right, so let's talk the algorithm for a minute. None of us, disclaimer, none of us totally understand it. I wish we did, right? This is just from what we've seen from studies that have been done. So from studies that have been done, likes, comments, and shares are great. These all have weight, right? So likes or the funny button or the heart or whatever it is, they have weight. They're good, right? It's positive signals. However, comments, right? Studies have shown comments have more weight. If you have 50 people comment on something, it's more powerful than if 25 or than if 100 people liked your content, right? So your goal is to create organic conversation on the platform. Shares. When someone reposts, that from studies has shown it holds the most weight. You want to be able to provide content that people want to share out. What I have found, right, is I call it the power hour, actually 1.5 hours, is, when you post something on LinkedIn, don't post and go to lunch, right? Watch your engagement, watch your comments, things like that. What you'll find is it makes a big difference. And studies have also shown that when you make a post, if you have 5,000 followers, your 5,000 followers aren't all going to see your post, right? So what it does is it shows it to a small percentage of your followers. Now, depending on what that 1% of followers do, then it'll say, studies have shown, okay, now we're going to show it to maybe 2 or 3%. So again, if you have good content, I just call it breaking the algorithm. Good content is key. Don't worry about the algorithm. Don't get caught up in it. Create good content. What I will tell you also is if you are posting and you're not getting engagement, you look at your post and you have 3 likes on your post, stop, right? Stop. Look at what you're doing. Change your strategy, because you can actually hurt yourself as well by posting and getting no engagement, right? So again, the bottom when I talk about, just breaking AI by just creating good content. That's what you want to do. You want to help people do that by creating good content. So
do you quick question, if you don't mind. Do you think the kind of clickbait headlines work on posts? So even if if you've got some great content, does it sometimes help to try and make the first paragraph a bit more clickbaity to get people to tap on? Or?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I hate the word clickbait, right? So because I guess people refer to them as hooks. I kind of call them, because you can't title a post, right? I kind of call them titles of posts or what have you, but it's all about the mission, right? So if I have a message to share and I want to help people, if my message doesn't get out there, then I help nobody, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely, it's just like a book cover, right? You're not going to write a book and then make a really horrible book cover, right? Your titles, they're going to be good titles. So that is your chance to catch somebody. What you don't want to do is put something false in there, put something misleading in there. But yeah, I use good hooks, good content, and the CTA at the end. Every post of mine gives a reason at the end. I want people to interact with my post. So I ask them.
That's the key thing, that call to action, I think.
Hooks,
the engagement,
good content, and a call to action. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the question is, what do you post, right? Deliver education, solve problems, entertain. When I say entertain, it's whatever you want to do, right? Yes, I don't think I've put a post out or done a podcast or someone hasn't asked about my socks, right? So, it's just I maybe a year ago, I love just these goofy socks, right? So started posting with some of them and so on. It just kind of caught on, right? And now all of a sudden I saw other people doing the same type of thing. And so it's just entertainment. I'm having fun with it, right? Have every post have a conversation piece. Mine for me was maybe the goofy socks I have on. I had a Jeep door in the background for a couple of them. Something that if someone is interested in your post, there's a conversation piece that makes them want to engage anyhow. Breakout post is a story about you, right? A story about your journey after you have engaged with people, after you've built a little bit of a following. Breakout posts that that kind of catches that wave and gains you traffic so that you can kind of ride that wave. And the next thing is become a thought leader. But the thing is, you don't need to be an expert in the field or in the field for 20 years to become a thought leader. You could be a thought leader for someone who is, you got past the Security Plus and people want to know how you did that. So talk about that, right? Simon, feel free to interrupt me. I'm just kind of.
No, I was just responding to the comments. There's a couple of good ones in there. Nancy said probably had a question at the end of your post, such as what would you add to your list, or what are your thoughts about this topic? Again, that call to action. And Michael's comment I love, because I think he's so right. Find something key to make you unique.
Yep. And everybody here has something. I don't care who you are. Everybody here has something unique about them. So,
so. Who'd have thought my uniqueness was the fact I wasn't a cybersecurity expert and I was a failed, businessman who went bankrupt a few years ago. But honesty and integrity, I think, again, speak volumes on the platform.
I promise I'll be the first one to buy your book when you write it, Simon.
I won't be writing it, not for my children's sake. I'll have to issue it posthumously.
That's funny. So let's talk about metrics for a minute. Profile views. So if you want to actually see how you're doing, look at your profile views. Set a goal. Don't set a daily goal. It'll drive you crazy. Set a weekly goal, right? You want to see your profile views go up every week. Impressions. You want to see your impressions go up. So profile views is a period of 90 days, right? But you can watch that. Impressions by default is a period of 7 days, but you can adjust that and look clear back to a year. Search count. How many people are searching for you, right? The more people are searching for you, the more your brand is out there. The more people know about you. If people are searching for you, you know you're doing something right. My search count is way off. It's high. The only reason is because my name is Mike Miller. You know how many Mike Millers are out there in the world? So my search count's very misleading, right? Followers per day. This is something new under impressions, under the audience tab up top. You can look at your followers. So I watch that. I have a goal every day for followers. Maybe your goal is I want to earn 3 new followers every day. Right?
Where do you find that, Mike?
Under your analytics, if you click on impressions, then you go up top and you click audience. It'll show you the amount of followers you're gaining per day. So
that's something else.
So I'm competitive. I try to beat myself every day. I can't, but I try to, every single day. So your metrics are important. But then here we are on social media talking about likes and shares and followers and things like that. So the question is why, right? So for me, it's about, I just call it career insurance policy, and I call it a life insurance policy. If you lost your job tomorrow, your life is going to be in jeopardy, right? Your family is going to be in jeopardy. So if you have to go to the spray and pray method of applications, you have, no jobs on deck, right? No leads or anything like that. And you don't have a solid personal disaster recovery plan, then you have no life insurance policy. So for me, this platform and my brand is my life insurance policy, which I recommend everybody getting. Because you know what? It doesn't cost. It's not a term policy. It doesn't cost you a dime. Right?
It doesn't go up with age either, or if you smoke.
Yes. Yeah. You're exactly right. So with that said, that's really all I have. I want to thank again GRC Academy for sponsoring the show. My work, Appalachia Technologies, for allowing me to do this. They're fantastic. 3 fields, if you're trying to get into this field, in my opinion: offense, defense, GRC. If you're going down a GRC path, definitely check out grcacademy.io. So some stuff that I do, if anybody is looking for coaching, I do that. I have what's called a LinkedIn growth plan, where you can, I'll go over your complete profile. I'll help you. I'll give you some very good constructive criticism. Then I'm going to give you strategy on how to grow from, 0 to 1,000, 0 to 2,000, whatever. Then I also wrote a book as well. So, Simon, anything you would like to add?
There's 2 things. One, we've had 2 very similar questions come up at the end. I wonder whether you want to just address that.
Let's do it. Yeah, we got.
I think we need a premium account to advance. So
that's a good question. No, I don't think you have to have a premium account to be successful. I don't think that. I will say there's some advantages to it. I think the number one advantage of having a premium account is you can see everybody who's viewed your profile, right? Yeah. And I like that. I like seeing who's viewed my profile. And in the beginning, I really liked that, because if someone viewed my profile in my opinion, that's a fresh lead. So you know what I would do? I wouldn't follow them. I'd connect to them. And
100%.
yeah, so absolutely.
I think
Other
as long as you make use of it and don't just use it for the
Yeah.
gold badge that you get. I mean, there's tons of value in it. And the last comment is a shameless plug, if you don't mind. Is that all right? Can I do a shameless plug? It's not really a plug. For those that don't know me, I also host a YouTube channel, InfoSec Live, and we are live in 2 hours for the CISO experience, which is a chance for you to ask questions, a bit like this, with industry leaders like Mike. We've got Dr. Nikki Robinson on today, who's just written a book. So it'd be great to see some of you in the crowd. And also, thank you all for tuning in. And Mike, thank you for extending me the invitation. It's been much fun.
Absolutely. And I'm going to extend that shameless plug. Simon is incredible. I've gotten to know him. He's that guy that we don't live anywhere near each other, but he's that guy that if he were around on a Friday night, I would hang out with him all night long. He'd probably tell stories. And definitely, if you want to see it's way more professional than mine in my little office. If you want to see a professional show done, and the thing is about
I've ruined that, Mike, because I've just told everyone I've got a black bin bag on the wall.
That's okay. No one watches my show, so not too many people know.
Not true.
But anyhow, what I like about Simon's show, and I've told him this, is there's live shows out there all over the place that are just monotone and they're just hard to go through, right? But there's also a ton of great shows out there. Simon definitely falls into the great show category. So make sure you look him up on YouTube, subscribe to him. And also his LinkedIn platform, subscribe to him as well. And thank you, everybody. Thank you again, GRC Academy, for sponsoring the show. And hit us both up, connect to us. We're always here, and we appreciate everything. So,
with that said, thank you, Mike.
Have a great day, guys. Take care.
Have a good one.